Hey y'all, welcome back to For the Fans Entertainment, where today we are going to continue our countdown coverage to Big Brother 23. And today we are going to be talking about all of the punishments in Big Brother, from the ones that shook up the game to the ones that were a big flop. And we are sure to have more fun than Mr. Spectacular unleashed from Pandora's box. Let's get started. All right, Frank, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about punishment. This is stuff that, like, in my 20s, I would do to my roommates, like just stuff to make people's life a little more hectic and miserable. And it's so much fun to see in the Big Brother house. And a lot of this stuff, some of it even impacted people's games a lot.
Yeah.
It was just fun and entertaining to see on the TV.
Yeah, this is one of the best things about Big Brother, in my opinion, is seeing people get punishments. Some of them are punishments for the people that get them, and some of them are punishments for the rest of the house. So, it's kind of a punishments / powers, maybe should be how we word it. But this is our second episode where we are ranking all of the different things in Big Brother. And so to go over our tiers, Frank, what are we looking at?
We're looking for head of household. That is going to be our top of our tier. That's what we want to see. Then if we don't really know, if we're on the fence with it, it's going to go on the block. And as you saw in the last video, there's a chance if it's on the block, it could get evicted. Some people, though, straight out the gate, we're just going to evict them. Yeah. Kick out the trash right out the gate. But we'll probably see a lot of these start high and then slowly move.
Right. So unlike the first episode, we're going to start with the most recent seasons and work our way back. I do feel like we probably have a recency bias, and that some of these, like, oh, hey, I remember that because that was just a year ago and that was really bad. So, we'll see. Once again, these are our opinions, and, it's just based on what we like and what we don't like. And so you are free to drop us a comment in the section below and let us know your thoughts on all the punishments and powers in Big Brother history. And if you think that we got these all wrong, tell us where you would rank them. So let's get started with our very first one. And we're just going back to last summer and Christmas Abbott and her star babies. So, Frank, what's your opinion on this one?
I think it's kind of a weak punishment. I'm not a big fan. It could be seen as a reward in some people's eyes to get a bunch of little stuffed animals. I mean, I don't know. I think since everybody went and suffered through 2020, that maybe they were just being a little kinder. I would put it on the block to start out.
On the block to start out, I think that's probably a good place for this. It's not my favorite one. It was kind of fun to see Christmas having to get up with these babies and then seeing them multiply to where she had so many. And, the play with Enzo and Enzo being her baby daddy, like, that was kind of fun. I don't think Christmas has a lot of redeeming qualities as a Big Brother player, so this is probably the most that I enjoyed her. So, yeah, Trisha and I last season, we had fun with all of the theme stuff that Big Brother did with the star. We saw Janelle's star costume and Christmas's star babies. So I think it's fun. Yeah, I'm good with putting it kind of in the middle to start with and seeing where things go from there and whether or not we want to move it around. Not my favorite. Not my least favorite. Being a mom, it's definitely hard having to wake up and take care of babies. So I personally have never had more than one baby at one time. Trisha has, so we really need her here to give her opinion on having to take care of multiples. But, maybe it's getting Christmas ready for something in her future. Who knows?
I mean, Enzo being your baby daddy, though, that's a win.
Is that a win?
In my book, yeah. The
Because,
meow meow.
I mean, Enzo's entertaining, but I don't know, like, if I'm like, oh, hey, who from Big Brother do I want to be my baby daddy? Like, Enzo's probably not at the top of the list.
He put his kids first, and he'd be great to have on Thanksgiving and Christmas. He'd just not like a baby daddy that you live with, just one that you see on the holidays that you get along with, and that you
He's
can co-parent efficiently.
A solid co-parenting situation with, like, the kids are probably excited to have him, but the mom is probably like, oh my gosh, what was I doing? Like, maybe it was a drunken night. Who knows what conspired? Oh, I got them in the wrong category, y'all. Hold on. Let me refresh this and get them back down there where they belong.
Yeah, we were talking about Enzo being baby daddy, and that's why you ranked him at the top.
Top of the top, best of the best. He's where it's at. All right, so we'll start with them in the on the block category. Also, as a reminder, we do each have a veto that we can use if we completely disagree with where the other person is wanting to rank something. We'll use that, and we can also negotiate once it has been used in some trades. So, all right.
Yeah, I didn't play mine very well last time.
I don't think I did either, because, like, in the big scheme of things, I wish that I would have probably put somebody else in that category. So I'm going to try to hang on to mine for as long as possible.
Yeah, I low-key was just trying to make you play it last time. I was so jelly I lost mine.
All right. BB20, Robot Sam. Very first week, she gets this punishment where she's not even in the house, but she has to talk through this robot. And she has to get people in the house to help her maneuver around the house. And, Sam, the real person, is chilling in a hotel room while everybody else is playing Big Brother.
Yeah, this is probably the worst punishment I think that anybody can get in the game. I think with it being Sam, it might have been helpful the first week. No one could see her crazy facial expressions.
The crazy did not come through on the robot. So you're right. It probably was a little bit of a reward for her. Talk about, like, the most disappointing that I've ever, most disappointment from a preseason pick, because watching her preseason interviews, I was like, this girl is going to win. And she was loco. So, this is a terrible punishment. Like, I would
game changing. Yeah.
So pissed. I mean, you
miss out on the experience, and not just gameplay, like that experience of, like, spending the first week in the house with all the other castmates. Right.
I mean, by the time Sam gets back into the house, level 6 has completely formed. They're already running the house. Like, she missed being able to make those connections like nobody's business. As a punishment, this is awful. As a concept, I think it's great. Like, wow. It's super evil.
Yeah. It lives up to the punishment title. That's why I think it's got to be that HOH category.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the best of the best. I think it's going to be really hard to find one that tops that. By far, that is not recency bias. Like, that was a terrible punishment.
Yeah.
All right.
And that feels like it was forever ago.
It does kind of feel, a lot of life has happened since then. So, all right, let's move on to our next one. And this is going to be from the same season, Big Brother 20, and our boy, Fessy Shaft, a.k.a. Fessel. So Fessy received a punishment, and I really want to say that this season they had the power apps, and like the people that were trending got something good and the people that weren't trending got something bad. And for some reason, Fessy, who is a Muslim, decides, I'm going to pick the app where I have to eat something. And I'm going to pick the thing called Amazon. Let's just talk through Fessy's thinking process here.
He doesn't think.
He doesn't think. So the way the punishment is supposed to work is every time the doorbell rings, he gets a Amazon delivery and he has to eat the ham. But he can't eat ham. He can't eat pork because of his religion. So he has to have vegan pork. Like, this completely encapsulates Fessy as a Big Brother player.
And I wouldn't think he would want to do an eating challenge or punishment. I would think he'd want something physical, right?
Right. So, spoiler alert here, guys. Fessy's going to go on to the challenge, and he's going to be a pretty good challenge competitor, except for one area, and that area is eating. Like, I feel like you would have to know that this isn't your forte. Like, what? What are you thinking? This makes absolutely no sense to me. Wow. Okay, so as a punishment as a whole, where do you rank the Amazon delivery?
I personally wasn't a fan of that punishment at all. I would evict it.
Evicted. Like, this is nothing special. I feel like most people could have knocked this out with no problem, especially knowing how many people are have-nots or get put on slop. Like, I like ham. Like, when it comes time for Thanksgiving, I would rather eat ham than turkey. So I think I could eat a lot of deliveries of ham.
Yeah. And they shouldn't be making fun of Amazon like that.
Right. I mean, Amazon's a solid company.
Yes, they are.
All right. So if you were to get a delivery of a food, what could you not eat? And not crazy things like,
What could I not eat?
I don't know why I almost said milk. Because milk is not crazy, but not something like inedible, but a normal thing. But you have to eat it in a large quantity. What would be the thing that you're like, I cannot do this?
Like onions.
Ooh.
Not a big onion.
Like raw onions?
Like someone taking a bite out of a raw onion makes me nauseous.
Yeah, I like onions, but I couldn't just bite an onion and eat it. That would be bad. I agree.
I'm a pretty picky eater too. There's not a lot of things I love. Like tomatoes, something about the texture of tomatoes. Like, I've seen people bite into a tomato like it's an apple, and I'm like, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Tomatoes are fine for me, but I'm not about biting into an onion. So I like that. That would be hard for me, where I'd be like, oh God, this is a punishment. But I mean, ham.
Big Brother, here's a punishment idea. Caramel covered onions.
Yes, that would be so fun.
There you go. CBS free of charge.
I wish we could go back to the times of America's votes, like where we used to be like, hey, America, what, in addition to slop, what do you want this week's have-nots to eat? Do you want liver and licorice or marshmallows and minnows? Like, I think that would be great. So we could be like, hey, America, do you want the house guests to eat caramel-covered onions or coconut? Like, all right.
Did they stop doing that?
Huh?
Did they stop doing that?
Yeah, like now we don't get a vote on foods. So moving on to our next one, Big Brother 19, and Alex gets the punishment of Adventure Guide. So let's talk through this one. Tell me about Alex as the Adventure Guide.
This one was I thought, like, at first it wasn't going to be that bad of a challenge, a punishment, I mean, but it was a tough punishment. You had to carry all that luggage around, first of all, and she's like 5 foot tall, carrying all this around. Then you have to set up a campsite. That's like the worst part of camping. And then you had to make hot dogs for everybody on top of that. That would have been a tough punishment to suffer through.
Yeah, like this one was not fun in terms of like just the sheer amount of stuff that she had to do. And she had this huge pack that she had to carry and set it all up. I have never gone camping before, so I've never set up a tent. I would absolutely fail at that. They would have had to have had some lessons in the DR on how to actually set up a tent.
And CBS, they were kind of dicks too, because the minute she like set it up and took it down, they're like, hey, set it up for us again.
Yeah, let's do it again. That was so fun. So if she just had to grill the hot dogs and deliver them to people, like, you know, Paulie had the punishment where he had to bake the pies. Like, that wasn't that bad. Paulie was a little bitch about it, but compared to what Alex had,
they could have just had a campsite set up, kind of like the doghouse in Ian.
Yeah.
She could have just stayed there, cooked hot dogs for everybody, and it would have been a rough punishment. But to have to constantly set it up, I think that puts it at the HOH status.
I agree. I am very comfortable putting her there for right now. In terms of just a punishment of this isn't fun to do, no, it didn't affect her game. So, you know, I might down the road decide, hey, maybe we need to bump this down a category because it didn't affect her game. It just affected her life in the Big Brother house and enjoying life. So I'm good with it being here for now. Let's see what happens. All right. So moving on to our next one. Also in BB19, we get the Tandem Sky Dive with Christmas and Paul. Like, holy shit, I'm having just a moment here where I'm looking at Paul on my screen. I'm looking at Frank. Like, am I talking to Paul?
I mean, I'm slightly more attractive, I think. He might be a little cooler than me, but I'm slightly more attractive.
I mean, I don't know whose beard's better. They are very comparable. So, you know, like, I feel like we need Paul on the show where we can do a side by side.
I think we need friendship.
I think that we could do some friendship here. All right, so let's talk about the punishment of the Tandem Skydive.
I think that is a tough punishment. I think it was only 2 days, right?
Yeah, I don't think it was.
So that, I think, is going to knock it down on the punishment severity since it was only a couple days. But one, you're attached to somebody, a cripple, gimping around everywhere on the little cart. I think at one point he was like pulling her like a reindeer.
Yeah, so this was after Christmas's surgery, so she has her scooter and they have to scoot around as a duo. I feel like this could have been worse if Paul and Christmas weren't in such a tight alliance. Like, you know, we are going to get a rendition of this in a previous season where, you know, two people that weren't allies were stuck together. So for me, like, it's not that memorable. I don't look at it and think, oh my gosh, like that was so hard. And I mean, did they have to do anything else besides just going around together?
No, it was just, I think they were just stuck together. But think if it was someone else from that season, like attached to Paul, they couldn't stand him.
Yeah, it could have been really, really bad. But I think it worked out for both of them. So where are you feeling this one in our ranking categories?
Where am I? Well, since it's Paul, it's always going to go a little higher than it should. So.
Okay.
I think it should be on the block, though, just because it wasn't as long as I think it could have been.
Okay.
You put them together for 4 days, then I think it's a HOH status.
Okay. So to me, with them being in an alliance, not having to get up and like I mean, if it would have been something where they were acting it out, like, okay, every time you hear a plane engine, y'all have to get up and fly around the whole house. There's so much more that they could have done with it, but I feel like this was kind of lame. Step it up, Big Brother.
Say that until you got to go to the bathroom with somebody.
That is true, but when you're living in a house with 19 other people, all the privacy goes out the door anyways. And as a woman that has had a baby, which I guess at this point Christmas has not had a baby, but you don't have any privacy ever once you have a child. So, just it's whatever. So, I mean, I'm feeling this in the evicted category. Like, we can put it on the bottom of On the Block.
You're just going to move it to the bottom later unless I use a veto on it. So go ahead and evict it.
We can put it on the bottom of On the Block and we can revisit it. Will that make you happy?
No, let's evict it now.
Let's evict it.
Yeah. I want to, because I know that's where you want it. And maybe if I give a little bit now, you'll give a little later on something.
Okay. I mean, I feel like in the last one, when I did not put Janelle in the HOH category, like that was me compromising. So here we go. All right. So moving on to Big Brother 17, we get the lovely punishment of the Wackstreet Boys. And this dynamic boy band trio of one of the twins, I don't remember which one. I feel like it might have been Julia, but I can't remember. Johnny Mac and Jason. Was it?
Johnny Mac is my man.
Johnny Mac is so great. I think Jason is so entertaining. I can do without the twins. But 2/3 of a band, I think anytime you like 2 out of 3 people in a band, you're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Like there's always somebody that you're just like, what? Why? Why are they in this band? So this one was really, really fun.
So who's the Beyonce of the group?
Obviously, Jason is Beyonce. No doubt about it. I mean, he's got the attitude. He's Beyonce. And Johnny Mac is her sister. Solange. Wasn't that her name?
I'm going to get in trouble if I don't know the answer to this. So moving on.
The twin is Kelly.
A twin? They're a twin?
The twin, Liz or Julia, I don't remember.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying
wait.
From Destiny's Child was a twin. I didn't know that.
I need to know something about this. So as I was looking for these pictures, it was really, really hard because if you just type in Wackstreet Boys, you get everything you could ever want about the actual Backstreet Boys, which I'm a 90s kid, and there was a fierce battle in the 90s. And you were either Team NSYNC, Team Justin, or you were Team Backstreet Boys, Team Nick. And your girl here was Team NSYNC, Team JT all the way, posters covering the walls. So I like this version of the Backstreet Boys better.
I'm a fan of this version. I think it goes in the HOH. Just because it was fun and entertaining for the house in the beginning, and then as it went on, it was like, oh God, this is still going. So
yeah, they're still doing this. Okay. I'm okay with putting it there for now. In terms of, I guess the way I'm thinking with punishments, like I'm thinking which ones actually affected the game. And this one is fun. I enjoyed it as a viewer, but kind of like Christmas and the Star Babies, Paul and the Tandem Sky Diving, like entertaining, but it doesn't really affect anything. So it could be worse.
Fair.
All right. So next we're going to move on to Big Brother 16. And Beast Mode Cowboy. And this girl, Victoria, y'all may not remember her, but she actually made it to the end of the show. I know that she wasn't very entertaining, but she was there.
Yeah, he couldn't stand her. So unlike Paul and Christmas, this tethering of two people kind of sucked for him.
Right. It sucked. It sucked because they did not like each other. They were Adam and Eve, right? And
yeah, they had a little vine that was
like a vine that tied them together, and they had to wear like the little loincloths. At least they're both pretty people, because like there's some people I wouldn't have wanted to see running around in the loincloth.
They're still like, with loincloths, even if you're pretty, there's some things you're going to be doing that's not great.
Yeah, there's some things that you can't unsee, and a grown man in a loincloth is one of them. But Caleb is pretty to look at. So in terms of a punishment, where do you rank this one?
I would say on the block.
On the block. Look, I've conceded to Paul. Oh, no, I didn't. This is not over Paul and Christmas.
So you want to evict this one?
I want to evict both of these.
You're not a fan of the tether.
The tethering, that's just not the worst thing. It doesn't affect either one of their games in either scenario. And this is also with a duo that doesn't like each other. So I feel like, hey, big brother, let's move on to something else, because this one's just not bad.
I think it could be bad, though. They don't always control who gets the punishment.
Well, maybe they need to keep it in their back pocket, and when they're like, okay, this would be good. Like Janelle and Nicole.
Maybe on a rival season.
Janelle and Nicole, y'all are now tethered together.
We need a rival season where all your rivals, the first week you're tethered to.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun.
CBS, I'm full of great ideas.
Hit us up, CBS. We've got it. All right. So we're going to visit one more in Big Brother 16. And I'm going to also rank this one very, very high. I think you will as well. I think when people think of the absolute worst of the worst punishments, this one comes to mind. And this is the soccer shootout that Brittany Martinez did, where she had to kick 2,400 goals in 24 hours, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I wrote it down. It's like 1.6 goals per minute.
That's a lot. I mean, to have to kick it and go get it and kick it again. Yeah. She could not go inside until she finished it. And on top of all of that, she's on the block.
Yeah. I think this definitely is a HOH status punishment. I think it's probably one of the worst. Some people will probably put it as the worst.
Yeah, absolutely. This was miserable. When she gets done, her toes are bleeding. I mean, she was having to kick the ball backwards, donkey kick it into the goal, because she was so sore and she was physically hurting. So tough. And that's whenever you think about things like having have-nots. And in BB22, when you've got Jackson Mickey eating snacks in the shower, he should have had a penalty nomination, or excuse me, I gotta get a drink. I've been talking too much. He should have had a penalty nomination or a penalty vote, something, because you have people like this she was on the block. She knew she was probably going home, and she still completed her punishment. So mad respect for her. Jackson Mickey, you suck balls.
Yeah, this was a gnarly punishment, and she definitely was feeling it at the end of it. Right. I think it did make a lot of people feel bad for her. I don't know why she was kicking it the way she was in the beginning, with the front of her toe.
Yeah.
there's a professional soccer player in the house, not like giving tips.
Yeah. I mean, come on, Cody. You can't help her out just a little bit. Tell her, hey, use like your instep and not your toe because you're destroying it.
Yeah. But that was a tough one. So I think HOH, that definitely won't go down for me.
Yeah. It didn't affect her game, but it was so brutal and just completely memorable in terms of a punishment. Like, mad respect for her. All right. Next, we're going to go to the season that shall not be talked about, Big Brother 15. And this is going to be the second time we see a solitary confinement. This is coming 1 year off of Dan's funeral, and Judd gets solitary confinement, which we know Dan went to solitary confinement, and he concocted the best thing to ever come out of Big Brother in Dan's funeral. But Judd has a little bit different of a situation, and he doesn't have a lot of time to think about things because in his solitary confinement, he gets an alarm clock that goes off every 9 minutes.
Didn't Danielle do a solitary confinement?
Danielle Reyes.
I believe so.
I kind of feel like that may be right.
So it might be 3, but that doesn't matter. Judd, poor guy, the 9-minute clock, that would make it feel like forever.
Forever. I mean, you cannot get to sleep and then an alarm's going off. I know I have a hard time waking up a lot of mornings, so
I have 9 alarms.
Right. I can sleep through an alarm, but I mean, I feel like if one is going off every 9 minutes, no, you can never get into a deep sleep.
Yeah.
This is awful. And
Your
this
REM
can affect
cycle's
your game.
destroyed.
Like, this is like psychologically hard.
Yeah. And I think it's harder than most people can ever know unless you've been in solitary confinement.
Yeah. Solitary confinement with an alarm, like, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
So, where are you thinking for this for our punishments?
Where are you feeling? Because you keep knocking me down.
Okay, I'll speak first. I'm looking at what we have coming up, and I think that this one's pretty brutal. So I'm good with putting it in the HOH with like an asterisk of maybe we knock it down later.
Fair.
Fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to put this one in the HOH. This one is pretty rough. Like,
yeah. That's 24 hours, right?
24 hours. Just to give an update where we're at in our rankings. Let me share our little chart here and remind everyone where we've got things right now. Right now we do have 4 in the HOH category, which these are all really solid. Sam's robot, Alex pitching a tent, Brittany kicking the soccer ball, Judd solitary confinement, and on the block we have the Star Babies, Wackstreet Boys, and in the evicted we have Amazon, Tandem Sky Diving, and Adam and Eve.
It looks good so far.
It looks good so far. I think that we're pretty accurate. All right, so moving on. Also, in Big Brother 15, we're going to have the punishment of the spray tan.
The Ross.
Which, this is great to me. Like, the way Amanda looks right here, y'all, like, she looks so dirty because she's gotten spray tan so many times. This is very funny to me.
Yeah, I think it's one of the hilarious ones for the viewers to see. It reminds me of on Friends when Ross like goes in the spray tanning booth the wrong way and turns.
Confused.
the wrong time, so it's like extra.
Yeah,
and that's what it reminds me of when I look at it.
That's exactly what it is. That's a great comparison. Yeah, and I mean, just the fact that she did wear the goggles, and so she's got her little goggle non-tan going. This is hilarious to me. Where do we rank it though? Because that's the question of the hour.
I think I would put it on the block because I don't think it's affects your game, but there are some people that would mess with them.
Yeah, I agree with that. It doesn't affect the game any, but as a viewer, I enjoyed watching this, and the fact that it happened to Amanda. Amanda's kind of bossy and a loud personality, so it's kind of funny that this happens to her. So
it is.
I'm good with that. I'm about the punishments that are fun for us. All right. So now we're down to three. Three more to talk about. So let's look at this one from BB12. And this one, personally to me, this one also makes me laugh. Like I said, in our first edition of ranking different things, BB12 is my favorite season. And this punishment was so funny. We're going to talk about Pandora's box next. And this was a result of Pandora's box where they were given sock puppets and they had to use their sock puppets to talk anytime that they talked. And it's stupid, but it's so funny. Like the way that look at Brittany's with her little blonde hair and Reagan's with his bow tie.
Yeah, I think this is more of a reward. This is like arts and crafts for the house. You don't have TV, you don't have movies. So sock puppets, I think, are great entertainment. So I don't think we can even think about putting it in HOH.
Yeah, I'm okay with not putting it in HOH. Actually, you know what? No. This is my favorite because it's entertaining. I'm not going home with the veto in my pocket. I'm going to throw it out there, and I'm putting this one into the HOH category. This was entertaining.
Can you veto a veto?
Ooh, plot twist. No.
I don't like that ruling.
All right. But this did come with the capabilities of if they were not doing it properly and they weren't using their sock puppet to talk when they were talking, that they could get a penalty nomination. So I think that this one is pretty funny, and I would like to see them do this again.
I would like to see this come back. I think it was entertaining to watch.
Yeah. And I mean, this picture of Reagan laying in the hammock, and he's bawling, y'all. And he's having to do a sock puppet. Like, that's just gold to me. So, I'm busting out my veto.
It probably made the live feeds hilarious.
Yeah. So I guess at this time I was not watching live feeds because I was in high school, so I wasn't watching live feeds at that point, but I bet it was great. All right. In HOH, where you belong. Okay. So let's move on to, I'm really bad at counting apparently, guys, and we still have 3 left now. But the next one that we're going to look at, though, is the Coup d'etat. This one is one that is kind of a reward and it's kind of a punishment depending on which end of it you're on. So let's talk about the coup d'etat.
I think it is like the most overpowered power, like to No, we're not doing it that way this whole week. It's been pointless.
Yeah, no, all of that means nothing. Complete reset. So we've seen the Coup d'etat twice. We saw it in BB7 where Boogie wins it, and he decides not to use it the first week, and then the second week he is HOH and he does not use it, so it expires. And we don't see it again for 4 seasons. And this is a little suspect because, you know, sometimes people say that maybe the Big Brother producers rig things. We're not going to get into that. But everyone knows Jeff is a production favorite. He's a fan favorite. I personally love Jeff. And, you know, he was looking like he was in a little bit of trouble. And, hey, America, you get to vote for a special power. And what do you know? Jeff wins. And he gets the coup d'etat, and he's going to use it. And it completely shakes up the game. And
yeah, I was a fan, though, that happened. Like, I was on the Jeff train when it happened.
I was a fan of this happening. Like, last year when Janelle and Kaser were, you know, had their backs against the wall and the whole house was against them, I was like, coup d'etat. Like, let's just overthrow all of this. This is awful. I don't care if it's production interference. So, you know, depending on which side you're on, you can love the coup d'etat or you can hate it. You know, it ends up being one of the most explosive scenes in Big Brother history afterwards because you get Chyna throwing her mic into the pool and ends up basically quitting the show over it because she's so pissed. So, this is great.
Rage quit.
Rage quit. Yeah, so this is amazing. I love this as a twist. Not really a punishment per se to the holder. So where do we rank it with that in mind?
I would evict it because I personally don't want to see it back.
You would put it where?
Evicted.
Evicted.
I think it's too powerful.
It is really, really powerful. You know, if you're on the wrong end of it, it's complete bullshit.
It's like a super idol.
Yeah, but that's amazing too. Like if you've got it.
Yeah, if you got it, it's the best thing ever. If you don't have it.
If you got it or a person that you like as a viewer has it, then it's like, yes, the coup d'etat. But, you know, like if somebody like Nicole Franzel ends up with it, it's like, are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Why? So I enjoy it as a twist. But it's not exactly a punishment. So I'm good with it being in the evicted category. Do you think you were going to have to fight me for that one?
I thought I was going to have to fight you there.
Okay. So that brings us to our final 2. And we're going to look at also another fan favorite. And that is good old Pandora's box. And remembering back, this is such a popular thing, and it's hard to believe. We only saw this on 4 seasons. So Big Brother 11, 12, 13, and 14. Walk us through Pandora's box, Frank.
Pandora's box was a decision that wasn't the HOH had to make. And it could release something terrible on the person that opens it or the people in the house. You never knew what you were going to get.
Right. So every single person that was offered Pandora's box has opened it. Not one person. And like, this is what I think whenever they did Ghost Island and, you know, the people went and, okay, you know, smash the urn if you want to play the game. I'm like, yes, smash the damn urn. Like, you absolutely have to take all of these. Like, it's worth it. Maybe you get a punishment. It doesn't matter. So if I'm the HOH and I walk in and see a big old question mark on my door, I'm opening the door.
Yeah, and on Big Brother, I'm probably thinking, oh, I'm going to have to wear a unitard. Okay.
Right.
I might
So-
get a golden veto
Yeah.
or
so
a
like
diamond,
back
right?
back in these seasons, some of the punishments that the people that opened Pandora's box got were Brittany had to have Mr. Pictacular doing all of his poses. And Ian had to listen to Rachel Riley give advice. And, those are some of the punishments.
Could not deal with
Even
that one.
things as far as like, hey, you can't play in the next veto, but then you got something good with it. And then whatever, if it's something good in Pandora's box, something bad happens to the house. If something bad happens to you in Pandora's box, something good happens to the house. So, bring it back. This is fun.
Yes, definitely would love to see Pandora's box come back.
All right, so where are we ranking this? Once again, this is kind of a punishment, kind of a power.
On the block.
I think in terms of our rankings, I can see it as on the block. Because nothing from Pandora's box ever just completely changed the game. So we're good here. Okay. Last one.
But not least.
Not least by any stretch of the imagination. We're going all the way back to Big Brother 7 and Chicken George. And this was the veto comp of how bad do you want it? And this was like production. Please go back and do competitions like this again. Let's see how much people actually want to be there. And Chicken George wanted to be in the Big Brother house so badly, he shaved his head. Kaser shaves his head. And then they talk about slop. How many days are you willing to be on slop? And this man says that he will be on slop for 60 days. And he is legitimately on slop from the day of that veto competition until he's evicted. Like, mad props to Chicken George. Once again, that's where things like Mickey not being a have-not and sneaking food pisses me off so badly. Chicken George was willing to be on slop for 60 days.
That guy has more heart than anybody that's ever played.
Yes.
He's not going to play strategic, but he will go on slop for 60 days to stay in the house.
Right. Like, these are the kind of people that you just have to love. But in general, slop as a punishment. But in particular, Chicken George's 60 days of slop, which I think he ended up doing like 40-something maybe, or 30. I can't remember exactly. A ton of days on slop. Where are we ranking this?
I would say HOH. Like
HOH.
60
Give
days.
it to the man. He freaking earned it. So ridiculous. So, all right.
We agreed a lot more this
We
go around.
agreed on a lot of these. So I'm kind of proud of us.
Do we have our chart up and ready?
Yeah, so let me share the chart. We'll discuss where everything has fallen and see if we want to move anything around. All right, so in HOH, we've got Robot Sam, Alex, Camp Wildlife Director, whatever she was, Brittany Martinez, and the soccer, Judd, and his 24 hours of solitary confinement with the alarm, BB12 and the sock puppets, my veto, that one's not going anywhere, and Chicken George and his 60 days of slop. And on the block, we have Christmas and the Star Babies, the Wackstreet Boys, Amanda and the Spray Tan, and Pandora's Box. And in Evicted, we've got Amazon, Tandem Sky Diving, the Shackles, and Coup d'etat. So, Frank, let's hear it.
I think since the last list we did, I betrayed Chilltown and sent Frank sailing. I think I'm going to use my veto, and I'm going to pull Friendship to not HOH because I'm not crazy, but on the block. Let's get him back in the house just for that positivity.
You're like Kevin and the Tree of Temptation. You've unleashed Paul back in the house. He was evicted. Now he's back. He's on the block. And yeah, this is where he's going to fall. So we'll make that one slight change where we bump old Paul and Christmas up into the on the block category. And
I think everything looks really solid, though.
Yeah, I think this is really good. I think we did a good job ranking these. There are so many punishments in Big Brother that you cannot possibly go through them all. We would be here all night.
I think an honorable mention would be Ian in the doghouse where they had to walk him to the bathroom and stuff. There are a lot of really good punishments.
There's a lot. I mean, kind of comparable to Brittany and the soccer balls was Bailey last season having to do the tricycle and her pedal fell off. That one was really brutal. She just took charge of that. Lots of honorable mentions out there, but I think this is a pretty good representation of a wide range of punishments.
Yes, and if we missed one that's really great, let us know in the comments. Because our memories aren't the greatest.
There's so much to remember and so many seasons of Big Brother, and they're so long. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on all of our rankings and what else you would like to see us cover in this preseason leading up to Big Brother. We've got this little countdown here that we forgot to put up, but we are just 29 days away from the new season of Big Brother. So that's exciting. I still feel like, life hasn't gotten back to normal completely. We haven't had any Survivor in almost a year and a half. And, having a normal Big Brother season where, these people are getting close to probably going into their sequester. They're only probably 2 weeks out. So This is exciting.
And it's fresh cast, brand new players.
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
Yep, I am too. Good things hopefully on the horizon for Big Brother. Last season was a little bit disappointing. We did get a really good winner, I think, but not what we were hoping from an all-star season. So, it's only room to go up. All right, y'all, give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter @ForTheFansE. That is the number 4. And make sure you subscribe to For the Fans on YouTube. And we will see you guys next time. Bye, y'all.